Roll call. Everyone that's supposed to be here is here tonight. Agenda modifications. I was going to check if anybody was here from the fire company, but it don't look that way. So we have no modifications. Bruce, any announcements?
No, not this evening.
No announcements this evening. So we'll get into hearings and approvals. 6.1, Resolution 2026.05, approval of an amendment to hours of operations convenient for 6776 Hamilton Hospitality Group, LLC. I believe, Mark, you're going to take this.
I am. Thank you, Mr. President.
Hold on. There we go. Sorry. Okay, so this was discussed at the workshop. It relates to the restaurant at 6776 Hamilton. There is a restrictive covenant on that property that was entered at the time that their liquor license was transferred, and it includes various restrictions on the use of the property, including the hours of operation. They approached the township recently to ask that those hours of operation be amended on certain days of the week, and this is their you're hearing their request tonight for a vote. So we can turn it over to Dave Berger to talk about the amendment and the purpose.
Yes, thanks. So the purpose of the amendment was ultimately asking if they could also open for breakfast hours on Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. Originally, I think they were opening at 10 a.m. on Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. And they also found, because they've been open for approximately a month and a half now, that with regards to their hours on Thursday night, that they were finding they still had a decent crowd by 10 p.m. and they wanted to stay open for that additional hour, just making it easier rather than telling everyone they have to be kicked out the door at 10, give them until 11, which is frankly more of a natural time to ask to get everyone out of the property. So we were only asking for that extra hour on Thursday and then the ability to open 2 hours earlier for breakfast on Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I was going to ask, Nate, do you have anything to add?
No, sir, not with respect to this.
Brian McAdam, Engineer McAdam, anything to add?
Nothing to add.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Do I have any questions from the board? I'm going to start with Maury. Do you have any questions?
No.
Then I'll go to, I'm going to go in order here. Stephanie, do you have any questions on this?
Not at the moment.
Melissa?
No, mine were addressed already.
Wesley, you have any questions?
Briefly, it's my understanding that the township has faced a few questions.
Yes.
Have you, not questions, concerns from residents. Have you directly had any residents approach you?
I have not. I mean, I myself not directly. I'm counsel for. So it's
Correct.
not like
I guess I should say you representing the restaurant.
Yeah. So with regards to these hours, no. I will tell you that to my knowledge, there haven't been concerns raised with regard to the change in hours. I know my client has been in communication with a neighbor to the rear of the property, and they are really doing the best that they can to kind of appease the concerns that they do have. But there's only so much. There's only so much they can do, to be honest with you.
Do you feel that they'll continue to address
Yes,
that?
I don't.
That it
I
won't
don't
turn into an issue?
Correct. I mean, I don't really anticipate that they're going to do anything to antagonize any neighbors. It's very hard for me to say anything more than that. I mean, because you have a neighbor. It's to the rear. Unfortunately, it's a residential property that abuts a commercial property. It's a restaurant use that is next door. They're not staying open till 2 a.m. I mean, they've put in more buffer to the rear of the property than frankly they're required to under the ordinance, and they've done what they can. They believe when it grows in, any of those concerns that they have, especially during the fall and winters, but during the summers, they're not going to have that issue because it's all going to grow in.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, do you have any more comments, sir?
No, not this time.
Do I have any comments from the public? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passed.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Resolution 2026.06, approving the Lower Macungie Mixed-Use Development LLC land development at 617 North Crocs Road. Nate, are you going to take this?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So, as we've discussed at the workshop, this is a mixed-use project that consists of 318 dwelling units, apartments, with amenities on site that include an extensive trail network, a dog park, a clubhouse, pool. There's a 160-room dual-brand hotel and a nearly 20,000 square foot retail and service commercial building at the front of the site. A conditional use was approved through a public hearing on March 17th in 2023 with numerous conditions attached. And then the land development plan was recommended by the Planning Commission on June 10th in 2025. The development, as you can see here, is served by, on the map, is served by 2 roads that access North Crocs. And then an emergency access is provided out to the Turnpike property. Traffic and stormwater design have been reviewed consistently and with great effort through the Township Engineer's Office. And as we've discussed previously, the applicants have worked with Upper Macungie Township with respect to that traffic light. So I would hand it over to both Mr. McAdam and the applicant to provide a little bit more detail on progress and the project. Thank you.
I don't have too much to add other than to say that we had been working through our review letters with the applicant's engineers. Our last letter was from May 8th, 2025. I don't believe there's anything in there that cannot be addressed. I will say that the applicant has received their NPDES permit for the project and that the PennDOT permit is still outstanding. So I'm not aware of anything that I have not already gone over with the applicant. Certainly if the members of the board have any questions for me, I'm in a position I feel like we should just turn it over to them, let them sell their project.
Right, any questions for the engineer?
Based on expectation of the conditional use, the 2 things that you said, those were the expectations. That's where we would be at this point
Yeah.
for approval, right? They've met that standard is what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. We have references to the conditional use conditions in our review. And there are many that already have been addressed. The rest will be addressed before the plan gets recorded. So, yeah.
Okay.
Question. For anyone that might be confused about the Upper Macungie stoplight and the, everything that went on with that, could you explain that a little again?
Yeah, I'll take a shot at it. I may need to defer to Solicitor Fisher.
Okay.
But prior approvals required that a traffic signal be put in at the Centrodia intersection further up Crocs Road. The applicant's team had put together plans, had discussions with PennDOT, as well as our office and township staff. As things evolved, it kind of became a little bit more complicated due to some demands from PennDOT. And my understanding is that at this point in time, the applicant has coordinated with Upper Macungie to the point where there will be funds provided to Upper Macungie. They are very interested in getting that signal done. And they are in a position, I believe, that they already have money budgeted for 2026 to get things started. So rather than the applicant put in those improvements, which are clearly completely out of Lower Macungie, the way it's going to work is they're going to give the money to Upper Macungie. Upper Macungie has already, I believe, already agreed to the amount. And so that will move forward relative to that agreement. I would assume that there's going to be some written agreement for it. It won't just be a handshake, but that's where I don't want to misstate anything. But yes, that component has been addressed in that regard.
I can expand upon that
Yeah.
too, but I don't want to see if there's other questions.
Chair there.
Go ahead.
I can go, okay. So I just want to give some background because we've been working on this project for a long time. The conditional use application was filed with the township in October of 2022. Following the submission of the conditional use, there was some meetings and follow-up with township staff and the township consultants, with ultimately getting a recommendation of conditional use approval from the Planning Commission at their December 13th, 2022 meeting with various conditions. The recommendation of the Planning Commission was then presented to the Board of Commissioners, and a public hearing was held on February 16th, 2023. At that hearing, there was testimony and evidence presented to show that the applicant met both the general and the specific criteria for a conditional use. So a conditional use is a use that is permitted as long as you can show you can meet the specific criteria and the general criteria. The evidence included design compliance, building compliance, addressing traffic in general sense related to the use, because there was a traffic study submitted as part of the conditional use packet. And at the conclusion of the conditional use hearing, the commissioners there in attendance, Mr. Higgins, Mr. Robert, Mr. Beitler, and Mr. Shoemaker, unanimously voted to authorize the solicitor to prepare the conditional use approval resolution and decision, which was then acted upon and signed. It did have the conditions that the Planning Commission had recommended, and primarily those conditions are in the agenda packet that the board has this evening. By granting the conditional use approval, it is a determination that the township made that the plan and the proposed use would meet both the specific and the general criteria. The general criteria for a conditional use includes that the proposed use would not adversely impact the surrounding area, would not cause any adverse impact on public health, safety, or welfare, or cause adverse traffic in the area. So following receipt of conditional use approval, we then went through submitting the preliminary final land development plans. The land development plans were reviewed both by the Planning Commission. We appeared before the Planning Commission at meetings multiple times. We worked directly with staff, with the consultants, with the engineers, a lot of back and forth, trying to make sure we address comments that either the commissioners had, that the staff had, that the Planning Commission had. In the course of those reviews and meetings, we obtained the emergency access easement from the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission, which was a request. We obtained written encroachment agreement from PPL for the improvements. And as Brian mentioned, we have now also obtained our MPDES permit with regard to stormwater on the property. As it relates to Upper Macungie, there is a condition of record that was part of the Hamilton Crossings approval process. And the specifics of it include that constructing a signal within the existing right-of-way of that intersection. So the developer started with plans that showed a signal within the existing right-of-way, only to be told by PennDOT that they would not allow that within the existing right-of-way, that PennDOT wanted additional improvements. The developer was then asked to work directly with Upper Macungie, because the signal is in Upper Macungie, to see how we could move forward, how can we best address this. We had a number of meetings in Upper Macungie with their engineer, their solicitor, and came to an agreement by a written memorandum that we have with them that would require not only a significant contribution to Upper Macungie for them to construct that signal and get the approvals, but also there's an agreement that we turn over to them all our engineering, all our studies, everything that we had done up until this point without any cost, so that they could move forward and proceed. Upper Macungie has expressed to us along the way that they were very interested in reaching an agreement with us, in us confirming the amounts that would be paid to them, as well as the request for us to turn over those documents so they didn't have to start from scratch. So the Upper Macungie piece is sort of related to the Hamilton Crossings, but even though the condition was not met, the developer agreed to proceed with Upper Macungie and come to an agreement as that goes. There also appears to be, sort of in the public, some misinformation circulating about the project, that it doesn't require any approvals from PennDOT. The developer was engaged with PennDOT since 2021 on this project. There's been multiple concept plans, traffic improvement options for the frontage, the surrounding areas that we've gone with different plans with PennDOT, with both Upper Macungie and Lower Macungie involved along the way and being copied and going back and forth. During the course of that, the PennDOT ultimately approved the transportation impact study, and that now allows the formal design process to start, or to be submitted, excuse me. We have the design, we just have to submit it. At the time, during all of these discussions, and since 2021, PennDOT never asked for there to be a grade-separated intersection. They never requested the applicant to set aside or dedicate additional right-of-way for a potential grade separation intersection at the intersection of 222 and North Crocs Road. More than likely, this was because there's significant right-of-way that PennDOT owns along that area. There is a full width of 262 feet from the Hamilton Crossings property line to the property line of our client, available if in the future there's a need to do some additional improvements along our frontage. There's additional right-of-way, even more than the 262 feet at the actual intersection. But again, PennDOT was involved in the process, never requested that there be any grade separation as part of the design for this project. The project itself does include significant road improvements. They include 180 feet of southbound dual left turn lanes along North Crocs as it approaches Route 222, 230 feet of eastbound dual left turns lanes along Route 222 approaching North Crocs Road, phasing for the northbound and southbound left turn lanes along North Crocs Road, signal retiming during all peak hours, connecting sidewalk from the site to the existing crosswalks, and improving the cemetery access with a signal that would be at our main entrance. While the developer will be connecting the site to the existing crosswalks at Route 222, the existing pedestrian crossings will remain. There's no changes being made to those. PennDOT was not requiring any changes, and PennDOT reviewed those. The developer will not be eliminating any pedestrian accommodations on the bypass, and the proposed signal timing provides the adequate green time for the pedestrian crossings as approved by PennDOT. So when they do this, the retiming, they're going to make sure that there's enough time for those pedestrian crossings to operate efficiently like they are operating now. In addition to the road improvements that the developer will be being made, the developer will be paying to Lower Macungie Township the PA Act 209 traffic impact fee for use by the township in the amount of over $780,000. It's important to note that the township's Act 209 study was updated in 2018 to specifically increase the traffic impact fee for the transportation service Access East, which is where this property is located. Those updates provide for financial payments to be made to enable the township, along with contribution from PennDOT, to have monies available should there be determined in the future improvements need to be made. The Act 209 update that was done does not have any requirements for a grade separated interchange either. The developer will also be paying to Lower Macungie a recreation fee in the amount of over $1.2 million, while also providing on-site amenities, including a pool, pickleball court, and community walking paths. Other than the requested waivers that are before the commissioners, which have been recommended by the Planning Commission, and which are what we would call your typical standard waivers, allowing it to be preliminary final, stormwater related, allowing the contribution as opposed to dedication of open space and the like. We believe that the developer has worked very cooperatively with the township staff and the township consultants to get to the point where we are now, and that we believe that the plan complies with the ordinances that are in place for the review of a land development.
Move to approve.
All right, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second to move it forward.
All right, I have a second. I'm going to ask for comments from the board. I'm going to start again with Maury. Do you have any comments or questions?
No, I just agree with what Attorney Durso said, that they've done everything that the township has asked them to do. We have granted them the rights under the conditional use, and to not approve it would, in my opinion, lead to unnecessary legal expenses of litigation that I think they would win. So I definitely am for it.
All right, and just for my memory, when we approved that conditional use, wasn't it in there the developer was going to pay for the total cost of that light? Do you remember that, or
Well-
total cost of Centronia? The conditional use was worded that way.
No,
Developer was going to install it.
No, it's, what is worded in the conditional use decision is referencing back the original condition of the approval of Hamilton Crossings.
No, the one I voted on that night, though,
Yes.
before the additions.
No.
I just reviewed it tonight, and it said the developer was going to install it, but that's not my main concern anyway. I just wanted to see if my memory was off on that. And then this is for Brian McAdam, to install that light, what timeline do you think? And must there be land condemned to install it? I mean, is this going to happen in a year or 2 years or 5 years?
I don't know what the final design looks like. And
Your best estimate, if
if the
condemned?
design is mostly done, I would say that it would probably be installed in 2027. But honestly, it's a guess, because my recollection from previous meetings about the PennDOT, I'll say the PennDOT options, some of them required right-of-way to be acquired. I believe the way, and I would kind of need to defer to the applicant's team to maybe confirm this, but I believe that the way things evolved, it was at a point where they either wouldn't need right-of-way or would need minimal right-of-way. Anytime you need to get right-of-way for a project, it tends to bog things down. But, like I mentioned earlier, Upper Macungie is committed to doing this. They feel very strongly that they need it, and they want to do it. So I would say probably best guess 2027 installation, but I'm kind of winging it without knowing for sure that plans are done at a minimum.
Okay,
So
thank you. Commissioner Rafis, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, and these are for whoever can answer them. So one of my biggest concerns is the pedestrian crossing over 222. Currently, there's really no reason for people to cross the street there because there's nothing on the other side. So some of these apartments are going to be 2-3 bedroom families, teenagers. If this becomes like a very busy pedestrian crossing and we find that it's dangerous, what are we able to do in the future to make it safer?
So that would all be dictated by PennDOT. PennDOT required the pedestrian crossings to be installed, and it's part of their review of our project, looked at the turning movements, looked at how we were going to do the signal timing, and did not require any additional accommodations to be made. So it really would be whatever PennDOT would say would happen, because they control that area. They control what would be required for the pedestrian crossings. I think our site is designed in a way that we do provide, because the township wanted us to make sure we provided the sidewalk to connect to those crosswalks. I don't believe that I'll let maybe Chanel say a little bit more, but I don't think we're anticipating there to be really families as much in these apartments. If you want to just comment on that.
Well, yeah, I would say actually I have some figures here. If you go by the Rutgers Center for Real Estate Blaustein study, if there's an average of 50% of our residents making between 50 and 100,000 a year, and 50% making greater than 100,000 on average, based on that study, which has been accepted and used in multiple land use proceedings, there would be 54 total school-aged children at the property at any given time, and that's what we would expect.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know that we could say exactly what they may or may not require, but they certainly would be the ones dictating that. Yeah, yeah. You can,
Well, and I would say there's going to be retail on the site, so accessible retail with trails to it, which they can access. And it's smaller retail, so the type of things people would walk to, as well as the clubhouse and all the on-site amenities. I think the central focus would stick to, our goal was to keep it all within the envelope,
Yeah.
try to maintain that fluidity within the development. So people will, ideally stay on the
Yeah.
site more.
And then.
Jeff, before you go into that, can
Oh,
I just ask another, it's related to the, was your next question related to the traffic light?
No.
Or, okay, can I just continue on with
Yes.
that? Okay. So on that, you had mentioned about the crosswalk timings and that there was going to be an adjustment for the light.
so we have to adjust all the signal, a certain amount of the
Yeah.
signals so that they're
Yes.
timed. And then as part of that, we have to make sure there's enough green time for the pedestrian
Correct,
timing.
okay, so you're saying green time, it's not an actual hold. I know sometimes there's a stoplight that'll have a four-way hold or all traffic hold. It's not an all traffic hold.
No, not to my knowledge.
And was that ever discussed? It would make it so that there are no traffic movements if someone was crossing a fairly large expanse.
I don't know if that was something that PennDOT brought. I mean, we've been going with PennDOT so long. What do you say? Yeah, let me.
Yeah, I won't forget.
Hello, I'm Kyle Kessler with Bowman, traffic consultant on the job. To answer the question, the timings are being revised to make sure it meets current standards, which is a pretty much a requirement anytime we retime a signal. So to make sure that it meets the current standards, sometimes they don't. So you have to add pedestrian crossing time. As far as an all-stop pedestrian phase, I think is what you're asking.
Correct.
That usually is not done at intersections such as this because it takes a lot of green time away from your traffic.
Correct, I figured
So-
that was going to be the answer.
Yeah, that would really hurt the functionality of the traffic of this intersection. Yeah.
Correct. And for that, the design of that crosswalk, there's essentially, and maybe I misunderstand, but I believe that there's an island kind of in the middle of that. It's a grass island. Is that designed that the person would get from point A to the next side, or is there a break in between that there's an assumption that maybe they're waiting till the next green, that they're standing in the middle of that area?
I forget if wherever there's a push button is where it would be timed from.
So point A to point B. The idea is that they would cross this intersection from your property over to Hamilton Crossings.
Yes,
in
I
one-
do not believe there's any push buttons in there.
There are no refuge islands on 222.
Okay.
As it
It
stands
terminates
right now.
before you get to, I mean, there's a grass median there, and then there's a little bit. There's nothing in the crosswalk there? It doesn't even touch a,
Nope.
From one side right to the other.
okay.
Did you ever cross that, Wes?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't do it neither. I walked it a couple times, and under current conditions, forget it.
Yeah.
Unless you're pretty brave. And as far as an all-stop, we'd have it backed up all ways to Citronia Road, to the bypass, to the...
I agree. I only brought it up because.
Because
yeah,
it's backed up there already.
Correct. Yeah.
Current conditions back us up already.
My follow-up was just to the traffic light to understand if you were saying that was what was happening. You raised that it sounds like it's being extended longer than what was originally there.
It's being calculated from one end to the other, which is a long distance, as you're saying.
Yes.
But that'll be calculated for a pedestrian speed, for someone who probably needs a disabled, that's the speed that's calculated for that length. And that's how it's set up.
And that's
So-
initiated if they hit the button.
Correct, yes.
And
All right,
Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, but the signal timing changes that have been referenced, that all will be factored in. It would be part of the plans that go to PennDOT. They will review it against current standards. We will also review it to make sure that we're comfortable with what's being proposed.
Yes.
So there are going to be different sets of eyes on it as before it's approved.
And being there's changes, I'm sure it ain't going to be faster. It'll just back up.
Well,
Because it'll allow more time for more traffic.
yeah, but I mean, it's
In your
somewhat
opinion,
relative.
would that be...
It's somewhat
close to
relative,
accurate?
but one of the things that I've been told by traffic engineers along the way is that, there's only so many minutes You know, there's only so many seconds in an hour, in a minute. You can only whack up time so many ways. So we need to rely on the way it's done for PennDOT standards. And my understanding is that they do factor in the safety of the pedestrians, particularly, you know, handicapped folks that need to make that movement, and factor that in. And then just however things get divided up, that's how they get divided up, because there's only so much time available, you know, to be divided amongst the different movements.
And we're not necessarily trying to encourage it, we just have to make sure that it's available and then.
So can I just ask, so what is the timing now if someone presses the crosswalk button?
I don't know the exact time off the top of my head, but it's probably pretty close to what it is right now, because that signal was recently redone with the township's corridor project along this route.
Okay.
Upgraded everything.
So I guess what would the expectation be to accommodate, you know, to accommodate someone to cross it?
Yeah, so Kyle, if you don't mind, I have the current signal permit right now. So the crossing from the bypass, the interval is 50 seconds.
50.
It's a 7-second walk, steady, and then it's a 43-second flash. So you have to complete the movement is a complete 50 seconds. Now to cross North Crocs is 41, which again is a 7-second walk, steady walk, and then a 34-second flashing walk. So again, to complete that movement, it's 41 seconds. And as far as I can tell, that's based upon the manual on uniform traffic control devices. I'm not a traffic engineer, by the way, but that's 3.5 feet per second. Okay, so that's what the current signal is now. I can't comment on what the design is. That's still in design phase, but that's everything that, you know, Brian and the applicant's engineer will take into account when we see that new design as well. So.
And then let me ask the maybe more important one, probably a question for the solicitor. What is our jurisdiction on this one?
It's a PennDOT road, so if we're talking about 222, it's a PennDOT road, so PennDOT has a say in everything that happens.
So even if we said we want it to be 2 minutes?
They'd have to go back to PennDOT to get approval to do whatever we're requesting them to do. So if PennDOT says no, then even if the township wants it to happen, PennDOT is the ultimate decision maker.
We are happy to work with Brian on if there's a specific request for the timing to present the request. I don't know what timing, how much to need. You know?
Not a traffic engineer, wouldn't know, but I think you can hear it across the board. It's a very genuine concern to cross that large of essentially a highway.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, we know what it is now, and we are happy to make a request to PennDOT, but we're all sort of in
I get it. I mean, it's one of those, we're looking for the perfect answer. There might not be a perfect answer.
Right.
Well, what it is right now is it's identified as one of the most critical failing intersections in the region, with discussions ongoing about creating a grade-separated interchange to handle traffic, and that's from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission.
So,
I know what you're going to say, but that's what it is now.
Yeah, but no, but I'm saying is there has been no discussion or presentation of a grade-separated interchange. Your own study that was done does not say anything about a grade-separated interchange. So while LVPC might be saying it, PennDOT has not raised it. Wasn't raised by your consultants when they did the updated Act 209?
I was just trying to explain everybody's question in it, and it is bad. It's bad now, and it'll get worse. It ain't going to get better. It'll do nothing but get worse. But, Wes, do you have any more questions?
You know, I cut off Steph's time.
I'm going to go back to Steph.
Okay. On that particular topic, no.
All right, Steph. Commissioner Rafis.
Thank you. Just to double check, I think it was on the initial plans, there was like a bus stop within, is that still there? Okay. And will that be like public transit around the valley or like back and forth to Hamilton Crossings?
No, it would be public transit, but at this point, I think some preliminary discussions have already occurred.
Yeah, so we were asked to put the bus stop there. We had to reach out to Lanta. Lanta is not planning right now to provide service. The intention was for public bus service, like you have at some of the other shopping centers. But we approached Lanta, and at this point, Lanta is not putting and adding a stop there, but we have it there in the hopes that maybe in the future they may. But it's not meant to be just for us to have our residents go back and forth. It was meant to be a public transit bus stop so that it's incorporated in the hopes that maybe Lanta will, increase service in the area, which they're not really doing now in much of the Lehigh Valley.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yes, sir.
Does Lanta have a stop at Hamilton Crossing? They do?
Yeah,
They do.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen the bus there, but.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
do,
I've
they do.
seen it too. I don't know where
Yeah.
the stop is, but I have seen buses there.
I know where it's, I know where it's.
And so maybe they will, since they have it there. But what we did as early on, reach out to Lanta. I can't say we've done it recently. I think it was a long while ago, within the past year. Okay.
I'm complete, thank you.
Pardon?
I'm complete.
All right. Commissioner Bosak, do you have anything?
I do. So I have some follow-ups from some of the other conversations. So we talked about the traffic signal at Saturnia and Crocs. I'd like to understand more about the expected land acquisitions. I mean, it sounds like the original plan was no land acquisitions were needed or right-of-way acquisitions. But, I'd like to understand what that is expected to be, even if it's not finalized. But what does that look like? Because I also have questions on like the approval timeline. We could get it done in 2027, but if they have to acquire land, is that 2029? Is it 2031? Is it going to be tied up, in court for a while?
So I don't know that I could tell you timing wise on it because Upper Macungie is taking over the project. The condition of approval from the Hamilton Crossing said there was only an obligation to put the signal if it could be located and constructed within the existing right-of-way. So the original design was pursuant to what the condition was. That was presented to PennDOT, and PennDOT, as PennDOT does, said, we'd like you to add these other lanes, and we asked to push back on that, and PennDOT was not willing to push back on that. In conversations with Upper Macungie, I would, if I was Upper Macungie, would first approach PennDOT about getting the signal and keeping it within the existing right-of-way, or at the very least, not having their, Disneyland intersection, for lack of a better word, and having some constraints reduced so that you could still get the signal and not necessarily require takings of different properties. And the amount of that will vary depending on how that intersection moves. When we had looked at it originally, it required a smaller unused area on the funeral home, which wouldn't impact their business. Right. There was one property, though, at the intersection, I can't remember which of the corners, that is very close to the intersection to begin with and has a fence, and that one would be impacted, which is why I would expect that Upper Macungie would try to have a further conversation with PennDOT or that property owner. We did go and knock on doors to talk to. I didn't, but our broker did, to try to see, was there an interest, and some nobody responded at all. Some was, we need to really see, more details, and then then transition to the conversation with Upper Macungie. But we shared all of that with Upper Macungie, sort of where we were and what the design, where PennDOT was going versus what we originally were proposing there, which was, again, keeping it within the right-of-way. There's a way to do it within the right-of-way. It's just without having...
But if PennDOT says no, then PennDOT says no.
Right. But at least Upper Macungie's in a better position if there is a need for acquisition of private property to have that happen, which we would not be able to do.
Can I ask a follow-up to that?
So did I miss it? Did you get an answer? The condemnation was involved, the timeline?
I don't know. I don't know that because I said that would be Upper Macungie. I do not know that. Upper Macungie has the ability to condemn, and as Lower Macungie knows, you can file a declaration of taking and you get the property and then you work out the compensation later. So from a timing standpoint, that part doesn't take long. I don't know that Upper Macungie is prepared right now to do that.
So as Engineer McAdams said, it's an assumption, a guess. We don't know.
Well, I don't think anybody knows, no.
Nobody knows, that's right.
Correct. The only thing we know is we are giving, as part of the condition of, if the approval proceeds with this land development, Upper Macungie will be getting a substantial contribution and the plans for them to proceed with that signal.
And would we expect that the signal will be done before the development is done?
I would say probably not, if I had to guess. And it wouldn't be required to be done prior to that, because it was not a requirement that PennDOT said was needed specific for our development, if that makes sense.
So there's no time limit.
Only Upper Macungie could tell you what the time limit is.
So we don't know the time limit tonight.
I do not know what the time limit is, no. All I know is that we have reached an agreement with Upper Macungie, and that Upper Macungie really wants us to give them the contribution so they can proceed with the signal.
So can I follow up on that?
Yes, sir.
It's similar to what Melissa just asked. I guess, what is a realistic time frame, and this is one that you should be able to answer, to see use of the site? There'll be digging and stuff, but I mean the consumer side of it, either the residential part, the retail part, any part of it. When would we actually see consumers showing up on site?
Sure. And there is a requirement in your draft resolution that we have to proceed with the retail component with the housing component, but that one is, I don't know.
This is a larger site, 52 acres. There's significant site work, which is all work from the dirt and underground, but based on prior projects we've done at that scale, I would expect 4 to 7 months worth of underground site work, then another 2 months on the apartment side to do the footings, foundations, and start framing. From the time of the footings and foundations, first building usually should be done and ready for certificate of occupancy 10 months. So total time frame start to finish, first apartment coming online in 18 to 20 months. Retail, the retail is going to be in step with the apartments, maybe a little sooner, maybe 14 to 16 months.
So
and you have to hedge for weather and snow and all the unknowns, but that's pretty much the standard we would expect.
Of course, yeah, and construction never has a firm timeline, but I think you're saying 18 to 20 months before.
Initial, for the first building to be ready to take occupancy for residents to be.
And so when does that clock start? Let's make the assumption it's approved tonight, to give you a reference. Starting tonight, 18
From the first shovel in the ground, from the first time dirt moves on the site, 18 to 20 months from the first resident taking occupancy.
How long from today?
Yeah, I was going to say it wouldn't be able, so we have to complete the PennDOT design for our signal, and we have to get the revised plans back into Brian and staff for review. We have to do the agreements with the township, the security, so that in and of itself is probably at least a 4 to 5 month lag time. You can proceed with some of the ENS control measures, but not the significant work that he's talking.
If, based on everything that you just told us there, assuming that it's a range, I'm just trying to get a range, 2028, the first day of 2028 would be essentially the earliest that you would see.
I would say that.
Anything?
Yeah, I would say that makes sense.
And maybe the latest, assuming that there's nothing major, but that it all proceeded as expected, March or April of 2028.
I would say somewhere along that.
Yes.
Well, if we could only predict the light like that.
Well, yes, I know. I'm asking it as really, I know where you're going. I'm asking it more as a workaround, because I know that they'll give a firm answer on that because it's what they control. But I'm also trying to, if we're making an assumption based on reasonable assumptions on how long, if it's 2031, I think that's a number you threw out there, that it would take that long, 5 years plus, to get a traffic light, that would mean there'd be 3 years of no traffic light. Or if our assumption is that, they funded it this year with however many dollars, and I know that doesn't fund all of it, there's multiple phases to it, Is it that there's 1 year with no light? You know, I guess I'm just trying to also get a range for something that we aren't getting a firm answer on.
And unfortunately, we're not able, it's not that we're trying to avoid it, we just don't know.
I wouldn't answer for someone's other business. It's
Yes.
Upper Macungie. I've spoken with some of their members. They've appeared very interested in it. I think it's been publicly stated multiple times by you that they're very interested.
Correct.
But I don't think that any of us have heard hard details, and maybe it doesn't simply exist. Is that accurate?
I would say yes.
I have more questions.
Or at least
Yeah, more.
it wasn't shared with me, I should say that.
Yeah.
Wes.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to the potential future improvements. So I think it's from Mr. McAdams' report. I think it's that where there's some comments around the traffic. There is a comment in there that says the Act 209 improvement recommended for the intersection envisions a new grade-separated interchange, which would likely be rendered infeasible with development of the site as proposed. Is that still accurate? I just want to confirm that that's still accurate.
I'd be honest, it's been so long since our letter was done, I don't remember that even being in there.
Yeah, that's
Could you read?
sure. Yeah, the Act 209 improvement recommended for the intersection envisions a new grade-separated interchange, which would likely be rendered infeasible with development of the site as proposed. It was on page 47 of the workshop document, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, I see that was in our traffic engineer's review. Yeah, I can tell you that grade separated interchange has not been discussed in any kind of detail
Yeah.
in the 3 years that
Okay.
this has
Your
been.
point is that would rule it out.
I mean, this is saying that it would rule it out,
Right.
and I have concerns about. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a traffic engineer. I don't know what PennDOT's going to decide. I don't know anything about that. But as President Beitler had said, it's in the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission information that this is important. To take an option off the table is fairly concerning. Again, I don't know what decisions will be made, but whether. I mean, maybe that's the right option. Maybe it's a roundabout. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. But to eliminate an option that has been mentioned is pretty concerning to me. So I don't know if there's. I just wanted to confirm that that's all accurate.
I understand, and it is in our traffic engineer's letter. I certainly am not going to dispute that. I guess my best answer is. We've been part of several conversations with PennDOT and the applicant's consultants. I think probably at some point, and Kyle maybe could jump in, and because he is the traffic engineer for the applicant, typically PennDOT would not require a grade separated interchange unless it was necessary as a result of the project. Okay. As far as what the 209 study suggested, at that time, it was probably determined that it might be the right thing to do. I don't have a good answer for you as to why it would just completely come off the table. I mean, I think it's something that, like I said, with all the discussions we've had, it has not come up. PennDOT didn't even float the idea of, hey, maybe we should consider this, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think probably as much because of the improvements that are required on the north side of 222, just as much as that, the existing conditions from the center line to the south into the shopping mall, I mean, I'm not sure how in the world you would do a grade separate interchange with those conditions. And that's not to say that it's not that what was in the 209 wasn't valid. But between the 209 study being done, Hamilton Crossing is going in, and now, I kind of feel like that it's probably off the table regardless. But I would really need to defer to Kyle because I just think that relative to grade separated interchange conversations for a project literally down the road, there's a lot that has to go into it. And I think that particularly because of everything that was done for the shopping center, I'm not sure how you could just all of a sudden say, yeah, you know what, we're going to condemn all of this and build a grade separated interchange. I just don't see it happening, and almost regardless of this project. And I'm not saying that to help sell their project. I'm just honestly just trying to be practical. And PennDOT has had opinions on the other project that have really they've thrown everything at the wall for that one. Grade separated, go under, go over, do this, do that. I mean, the other project, I think they've gone through over 20 different iterations, and it's still not resolved. But on that one, there's a little bit more flexibility with the north and south side in terms of what you could do. And again, I'd have to defer to Kyle relative to the existing traffic conditions as to whether or not my kind of armchair traffic engineer's suggestions are even valid. I feel comfortable with what I'm telling you, but I would say that the south side is going to drive the infeasibility as much as anything else.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I will say the existing right-of-way out there is very wide. It's much wider than the existing cartway. So when 222 was developed, PennDOT obviously was looking ahead when they made the right-of-way 90 feet wider. You could put a whole other road next to 222 within their current right-of-way. Now, speculating on what the grade separated interchange would look like is hard to do because that's a whole massive design project in itself. But the existing right-of-way certainly is significant enough for major improvements to the intersection without any additional right-of-way. And in addition to that, the site is set up, if you look at a lot of the development, the site is set up away from the intersection, and there's a lot of open space near the intersection of 222. So if there was additional right-of-way needs, there won't be a lot of buildings in the way there. It's open pieces of the site.
And is Brian correct that nowhere did PennDOT mention that this project would require a grade separation interchange in order to move forward?
Correct, yes. That's never been, we've looked at many options along 222 and the frontage throughout the process. PennDOT never brought up grade separation. They looked at other improvements and actually wanted, what we have now is what they want us to stay on the cross road. So that's what we have provided based on all of that feedback and concepts and showing different versions of things.
Okay. Back to kind of follow up on the pedestrian side of things. So it sounds like we don't expect people to be walking to Hamilton crossings. If people don't walk over, but they want to go to Target, Whole Foods, Costco, whatever, how many more car trips are we expecting? Car trips, like, I mean, I know there's numbers around the peak trips, but again, I don't know, but if that's like, people going to and from work, but like, what are we thinking then for just extra trips back and forth, because if they're not going to walk it, they're going to drive it, number of apartments, maybe the people even at the hotel, I don't know, what's the expectation on that?
So that would be assumed with the traffic study, the numbers that you've already seen would assume those peak hour and just overall volumes would be driving to, if there wasn't a place right across the street, they'd have to drive down the street. So those would all be incorporated into the same percentages and studies that created the numbers that you're seeing.
Okay. And then in terms of the pedestrians, I mean, again, the expectation is no one's going to walk it, but, are there any numbers around if people do walk it, even if you had, a certain number a day, even if it's a low number, if it's 50 seconds to cross, what does that do for the traffic?
Yeah, I mean, 50 seconds is a very long time.
Yeah.
Cross.
Yeah.
Significant amount of traffic time.
And I'm assuming like nobody can, I mean, you can't make turns because people are going to be crossing, and then you can't have traffic, I mean, I guess you could only have traffic going the same direction as the
Or
pedestrian.
the speed lane.
Yeah,
There's a speed lane there too we're dealing with.
yeah,
For
like the
people
frontage
crossing.
road, yeah.
It would likely be timed with the cross traffic. So when Crocs had the movements, is when the pedestrian would go, similar to most intersections. And it's stopping the main line and letting them cross the road. When actually, it wouldn't happen every cycle. And like you said, there shouldn't be a lot of pedestrians actuating that, but the signal would sync back up because of the improvements the township has done to this corridor. It's all interconnected and we sync up after that next cycle.
Right, but like, right now, I don't think it's 50 seconds for the cars to go, like, across. I don't think it's 50 seconds for that light across Crocs.
For the people, you mean?
No, just for the cars. I don't think
Cars.
it's, because it's, sometimes that light turns quick.
I believe, Mr. Trangucci, you have the times of the current crosswalk, but is there a standard for how long a green is on Crocs Road to cross the bypass? Or is that adjusted at all times, and maybe there's a range?
So there's different movements and sequences in time based upon if it's a left turn or a right turn or what signals are going. To be honest, Mr. Barrett, I wouldn't be able to analyze this enough to
Okay,
give
it's
that
not
answer.
it's not a simple answer like the other one was of how long that green would be, right?
But
It's,
that changes, I think, because that's
but that's what I'm
How many,
that's
like,
what
how
I'm
many
saying.
cars are
Yeah,
waiting?
there isn't an
change-
answer to
and
that.
this is-
It
that's what he was
adjusts.
going to say.
So this is within the adaptive timing system. So it's a computer system that takes
Right,
takes how many, the volume of cars and then adjusts the light to
Right.
that. So I would say, and again, I would just, that would be timing for the pedestrian would, because you're actually actuating that signal. Then that would turn that, once the yellow goes into effect and once the red goes in, that's when your timing starts. But the other timing of how long a green is on the bypass depends on the movements of cars, not only in this intersection, but also other intersections that the adaptive system is connected with. So that could be the next signal down, signal on Hamilton.
Right.
It varies. So this, it's not
So
like,
we don't even have a range.
if there's a range, I wouldn't
Right,
be able
yeah, that's
to
what I'm
tell
asking.
you how to
Yeah,
read
yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah, totally good.
Yeah.
And just another question on the pedestrians. So like I'll call it the frontage road. I don't know if it actually has a name, but that road that, so if you're coming up, Crocs and you're turning right to go on on 222, kind of like behind BJ's Brew House, like pedestrians will be walking across that road that wouldn't have a signal, right? There's no signal at that, I mean, it's essentially like a right turn lane, but it's the frontage road. I don't know if we can pull it up on
not
the,
sure
the
if I-
screen. Nate, I don't know if you have, or anybody has the control of the map.
The map.
Can you do it?
Bruce, what do we want to look for, a regular map?
Just a Google Maps.
Just a Google overhead?
Yeah, just Google Maps of the intersection.
See if I can get that.
While you're
I'm not-
doing that, can I ask a question to Mr. Fisher? Quickly. I'm not an attorney, so based on our assessment of risk with people walking across the bypass, so we can deny a project based on risk to public safety with not having any data to present to PennDOT. Would we have a case to deny based on risk to public safety? If you can't answer, that's fine.
Well, I think you'd have to base that decision on the information that they've presented to you. So the engineers have done all this calculation, and if the opinion that the engineers are giving you is that PennDOT has approved these timing mechanisms, design elements, or whatever, then that's what you're basing your risk assessment on. Plus, the township there's different statutes that apply to the risk that the township's placed in for personal injuries, people getting hit by cars. So there's many factors, but with respect to the land development, in your assessment of health, safety, and welfare, you take the information that is available from the engineers and make your assessment based on that. So unfortunately, some of the information just isn't available, is what it sounds like to me, at least.
Yeah, so I'll stand up. See if it would be that little section right there, which hopefully, yeah, there you go, thank you.
You're right, that wouldn't be lighted, I don't.
Right, so there, I mean, that's, you see that, there's a car in the spot right on the Google Maps.
Oh,
But
you're
there-
over at
but-
Hamilton Crossings. You're at Hamilton Crossings.
Yeah, but it's part of, I mean, it's part of the, coming from the development to Hamilton Crossings, a pedestrian would have to walk that without like any signal or any warning for the drivers that there's a, that there's a pedestrian in that space.
That's the way I see it.
So what are you asking?
I'm just, I think, pointing it out for folks that, I mean, it's a concern that I have that, even if we have a low number of people that are walking from the development, you're crossing a major highway. I mean, I know it's not really supposed to be a highway, but it is a highway. And now you're going across another turning lane where cars are, probably not paying attention, knowing how people are. And it's just another risk that folks are going to have to encounter. I mean, look at all the spaces that a person is going to have to cross to get from, the one side of the road to the other.
Like I said earlier, 54 young adults could be crossing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
I mean, I could say it's a fairly typical setup to have a channelized right turn lane. And the configuration, obviously it's an existing configuration that you have designed or installed, but having a channelized right turn lane with pedestrian crossings is very common for high volume driveways. And it's all based on putting the crossing where there's good sight distance and one-way flow.
Yeah.
Crossing multiple lanes of traffic, you're only looking at one lane of traffic, similar to like how a roundabout would function, which is why roundabouts are so safe for pedestrians, because you know where the truck is coming from. So that's why a lot of those are not signalized, because it is generally considered relatively safe.
Okay.
Lower speed, not as much of a hazard.
Okay. And we're going to have, I mean, if development goes through, there would be a sidewalk from the development on the, on I guess the east side of Crocs, the whole way down. There's a sidewalk the whole way would be installed to the intersection?
Yep. There's actually an existing crosswalk if you zoom into.
Right.
Yeah, so the sidewalk would connect to that existing crosswalk.
I have a question for the other commissioners. That I've heard various issues brought up, but what is it that we would like the developer to do to straighten it out? That they are constrained by requirements of PennDOT.
Yeah. I'm not actually asking them to change anything. I feel my responsibility is to be a representative for the public. So like we're asking a ton of questions for public clarity.
Okay, so it is just for public clarity that because if you just reject it and you don't tell them what you want to do, then they take it to court and we don't have a case.
Right. Well, we have to ask the questions to see if there's a potential to reject it, because we need to get all the details. And honestly, I apologize that we didn't go through this in more detail in the workshop, but there was a ton to learn about this project, so we just want to be complete.
Okay.
Just a couple more things. So just again, in terms of information, for the hotel guests, are we expecting them to rent cars or be using rideshare or public transportation?
Could be any of the above. They could be driving in, they can be Ubering from the airport. It's really going to depend on, why they're coming into town.
Yeah. Okay. And then the projections for the retail, is that also included in the traffic study? I know you don't know what the retail would be, but are there assumptions that are used for the traffic study, and what are those?
Yes, this traffic study bases everything based on square footage and use. So all that would be is proposed and a conservative use. That's all presented in the traffic study, and that was approved by PennDOT and also reviewed by the township, presenting all that information.
Okay.
There's the ITE standards have different classes depending on what the use is, and then you adapt the square footage to it.
And then, so PennDOT still hasn't approved the plan.
So PennDOT has approved the traffic study.
Okay.
PennDOT has approved, well, I shouldn't speak for you. Yeah, approved the traffic study, and
Yes, so as of last year, they approved the traffic study, which was leading up to all the concept work and back and forth that we've done previous to that. That kind of set the scope of improvements. We prepared fully engineered plans at this point, which will need to go back into PennDOT for full review, and the township for full review of the design that the concepts previously showed.
but it approved the concept design.
Yes, the scope at this point, we believe, is set between all of the parties based on those concept considerations.
All right. Any more questions?
I do. They are fairly brief. You asked for a request that I think is reasonable, and I think it just hasn't gotten to the point, and maybe it would naturally happen, is that if the Hamilton Crossing already has a bus stop, that it would be a request that you reach out and request a bus stop at your development. I recognize that you can't tell Lanta what to do, but that you would have...
We did do that.
But you said it was some time ago, though.
It was some time.
Like it hasn't been reinvigorated.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we can
Yeah.
reinvigorate it, and we're happy to ask. I just know they have been cutting back on expanding their services, but we
Right.
would absolutely.
But if they're already there,
Correct.
and then the request
One would
be-
hope it wouldn't be a big lift.
Yes, and the request for that would be that that it doesn't just go to your property and go somewhere else, that it would also go from property to property. So it would be crossing
I got you.
the bypass.
To go to our property, but also be able to go and loop to
Or
Hamilton
the
Crossing
opposite,
or
yeah,
something.
however it gets, that if you can get from point A to point B on a bus.
Okay.
And then just a technical follow-up question. You were talking about the recreation fees and also the traffic impact fees. Those fees only apply to the 318 residential dwellings, but not each hotel room does not trigger that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's residential.
Yeah.
Was this talked about at the planning commission, all this stuff we're at?
That and lots of other things, yes.
Yeah, I mean, are we putting it in, or are you requesting it to be put in?
My request, yes. The bus?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're fine with that.
All right. All right, any more questions? No?
I've got none.
All right, well, I guess it's my turn. Based on the turn, Commissioner Bosak, it's brought to my attention, this development will wipe out the option for grade separation. So I see this as our last chance to fix the Route 222 in North Crocs. And as I pointed out earlier, it's one of the most dangerous intersections in the Lehigh Valley. And if we approve this, our leverage is gone because we're wiping out the grade separation option. We're wiping it out, approving this. PennDOT did not require meaningful improvements or preserve the option for grade separation, and so did we now, if this gets approved. So did we. Commissioners on this board, past and present, Maury, you were involved with this, and myself, we pushed for grade separation for 12 years. This ain't the first night it's talked about. We talked about it for 12 years. Approving this tonight shuts the door because for reasons you pointed out to me, it would be impossible to build.
That's what it says.
I won't vote to lock in a dangerous situation that's only going to get worse with this development. It's not going to get better. It'll only get worse. It's been mentioned that this was decided during conditional use. Just keep in mind, that's only one step. as we said to many residents before, even though conditional use gets approved, we have another crack at it tonight at this meeting.
Yeah. And
It's not a done deal. It was said many times to me, conditional use, we did this, we did this, we did this. Well, that's not the final word.
Correct, but you're also obligated to review a plan pursuant to the subdivision and land development ordinance, which does not have anything concerning general public health and welfare. That's not a legitimate basis to deny a plan. You have to cite to a saldo section. You also can't deny a plan on the basis of PennDOT, because PennDOT is an outside agency.
And also, when we got it also should be noted, when we consider conditional use, we did not have final PennDOT designs. They weren't in yet.
That's correct.
So that was approved before we even had PennDOT designs in this project.
Correct, but you were reviewing a use.
And we have them now, and they're not enough.
And there's
They're not enough. For me, they're not enough.
And there's no subdivision and land development ordinance provision that.
I understand that. I'm just telling you my feeling.
Okay.
They're not enough. I traveled that road for 20 years, twice a day, and the conditions now, they are what they are. They're terrible. They're terrible. And it's not going to get better. Then one more statement, and then I'll let anybody, if they want to run on it. You know, I got a phone call today that this is political grandstanding, somebody said, that if I shoot this down, and to me, safety and welfare for the public is not political grandstanding. I'm just telling you the way I feel here, the way I see it, and that was like a shot. Political grandstanding, because I got concerned for safety and health and welfare of the township residents. That's enough said. I'm going to be voting no tonight for this.
And the only thing I would say to that is there's no legal basis to deny a land development plan on the basis of alleged public health, safety, and welfare.
Are you addressing political grandstanding?
Well, no, I'm just saying. Okay. I'm just saying that is not a legal basis for the denial of a plan. You also are obligated as commissioners to rely on your consultants and the information that was provided to you, as well as PennDOT when PennDOT controls the road. And if I may, I just want to show you how much right-of-way that we're talking about. This is the intersection. All of this right-of-way.
But grade separation's out of the picture.
No.
Well, that's what the engineer had said.
Then Mr. McAdams clarified it.
What did he clarify?
He clarified and said
that it could be grade separation.
He doesn't know.
No, my question was, I'm told grade separation is out of the picture once this is built.
And that's what Andy said in his letter.
All right,
go back to
that
the
was
mic.
the question. That was the question.
I said, Brian, the question was asked of Brian about what Andy's review letter said, and that has, I'm sorry, were you pointing at me?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Someone was trying to talk.
Sorry. And there is nothing that PennDOT said, there is nothing about our plan that would prevent a grade separation happening should it happen in the future. There is significant right-of-way available there.
Well, there's a conflict here now then.
But Brian tried to clarify it.
We just can go by what we read.
Yeah, I mean,
it's in black and white. I mean,
it's not in black and white.
Oh, well,
it's in the letter, but you asked for clarification, and it's not a PennDOT requirement.
Well, black and white, I meant it was in the print, and you read it from the print, right? Yeah. That's black and white to me. And then listen, I just want to, I can only go on by what I read.
I understand that, but you're also ignoring everything else that we said, and everything else that was presented, and everything that PennDOT has said, and the fact that your Act 209 study doesn't even have a grade separation provision in there for what you would anticipate at this intersection. So you're picking and choosing what you're going to consider in black and white, which is maybe why somebody made the comment to you earlier.
Told me he did it.
I was the one that said it's political grandstanding, because the reality is, if you vote no on this, and maybe the solicitor wants to take that further, Maury already actually kind of articulated what a no vote really means, is that a no vote, it feels great. I would vote this project down in a second. I can list 1,000 things that I don't like, but I can list 1,000 things that I don't like probably about every project that's happened here in Lower Macungie. Unfortunately, my emotions or my personal opinion doesn't hold any weight in court, but a study holds weight in court. And when we're simply just going to lose it and we're going to waste money that we could have put towards preserving land, I'd rather do that. And I consider, well, I understand
Well, Wes,
your
you should be a millionaire, because you can predict we're going to lose already. Because we already challenged stuff and we won it.
you lose most of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, but we won already. You just said we'll lose it.
I'm not one for gambling. I don't gamble at all, and I consider it a political gamble. I don't think it's beneficial for the residents to hear us debate. Maybe I shouldn't have used the term grandstand, although I do feel that way. I do feel that a no vote simply to say I voted against something that I personally don't feel good about. The crossing that I personally wouldn't. I already said this on record that I wouldn't cross that road. It's a huge road. I wouldn't cross it anywhere. If it was at the beach, if it was anywhere, I wouldn't cross it. But
I did.
Is Mr. McAdam able to clarify?
Hold on. Can I just go to this? Does a no vote, simple, does a no vote end us up in court in all likelihood?
Yes.
I mean, that's easy. Yeah, better for Kate to answer that than me.
Yes, and it also likely removes any expectation of a contribution going to Upper Macungie for that signal because it's not otherwise required. So I just want to be clear that that was done above and beyond what we were required to do. And if it goes to court, the request to court is going to be that that not be part of the consideration since it's not a requirement, because the signal cannot be constructed within the existing right-of-way.
There might be some
I'll
people
get
in
to
the
that.
audience.
I'll get to
But
it.
does Brian want to?
Yeah, I'd like to weigh in. I mean, number one, I do see the comment from our traffic engineer where he states about the 209 improvement recommended for the intersection envisions a new grade separator interchange. That's not something that's been discussed at least in the last year or so. I can tell you that for sure. But since the issue initially came up, I pulled up the two different 209 studies. I'm not seeing anything that says grade separated interchange for this intersection. I'm honestly not. Under the circumstances, I can't just pick up the phone and call the traffic engineer now and say, hey, can you do me a favor and check this? Both the 209 studies do recommend some things, but not a grade separated interchange. In fairness, I'm doing this on the fly. I think what Kyle had represented, that there's a lot of right-of-way, that's an entirely accurate statement. My thought is, like I mentioned, practically speaking, there's a lot of stuff that's already built over at the shopping center. But given the amount of right-of-way, you wouldn't need right-of-way. It certainly makes it much more feasible. So I certainly would like to apologize if I need to, but I'm not seeing what our traffic engineer saw about the 209 study saying that a grade separated interchange is needed, and I'd like to follow up with him. I'm not saying put off the vote, but I'm not seeing that in the 209 studies that were done for the township. One in 2009, the other in 2018. So I would also say that I just asked Kyle if he recalls that discussion and if he remembered what the 209 study says. He does not recall it either, and this has been really, really heavily debated with PennDOT as to what improvements are needed. So I, all due respect to the board, I know you want solid answers. I'm not in a position right now to tell you definitively. I can tell you from what I'm seeing, I don't know where the grade separated interchange came up. In fairness to Commissioner Beitler, it's probably something that was discussed over the years.
Commissioner Bosak headed it.
No, I think he found it.
I found it in our traffic engineer's review. I'm just saying, I did not recall that particular comment. It didn't go any further. And to me, that means that it was discussed and addressed. And probably most importantly, it was not brought up by PennDOT.
It was brought up by this board over 12 years.
I understand. I understand. But relative to PennDOT ultimately having a say in what gets done on their road, And knowing what they've been requiring of other similar projects in the recent past, if they felt that it was necessary, I'm pretty comfortable saying that it would have come up. The board certainly has the right to want to say no. I get it. I'm just trying to express to you folks that I did do a little bit more homework here on something that I did not recall ever being an issue, and I'm not seeing anything in the 209 studies. So I apologize if there is an error in our review, but I'm not seeing it, and like I said, I think if it was something that PennDOT felt was needed because of the traffic volumes at this intersection, it would have already been brought up, because they literally are doing the same exact thing on the other project down the street.
In those
Right. Any
12
more
years, because
commissioner comments?
I had not heard it brought up in 12 years, but I also haven't been involved on the board over those 12 years. What was the discussion when it came up previously?
The bypass is just overfilled. It's backed up. The off ramp down at near the old drive-in, it's backed all. It's overloaded now.
All that.
And it,
yeah, those are the.
And it will not get better, no matter what we do here.
But
And again, I can only speak to this because I travel it twice a day.
Yeah,
20 years.
I think any resident in Lower Macungie Township
No, I worked. That
recognizes
was
this.
my path to work.
No,
to work and home, and then I got called out 2-3 times a day, and then I worked every darn weekend, and it's
no,
and we the whole township knows it's a family intersection.
Right. It was sold to us that this would resolve things. It didn't resolve things. But in those 12 years, I guess, what movement has been made to actually getting that done?
Well, actually, the township has been arguing with PennDOT against a grade-separated interchange for the Cressler Road intersection. That PennDOT seems to suggest that that's the only solution to it. David Jandal has submitted 20 different options, and they keep holding to that one, and it's a, $10 to $20 million endeavor that the existing detention basin is 5 feet above where the water level would be for the grade separated that they need to get rid of. And so, I mean, engineering-wise, there's lots of issues with going with grade separated interchanges.
Well, thank you for confirming. We talk about grade separation a lot.
Yeah.
And,
But interestingly enough, though, if you've been talking about it for 12 years, the Act 209 study was amended in 2018, as Brian just referenced, and mentions nothing about a grade separation.
8 years ago.
Right, but you said you've been talking about it for 12 years. And so if there was going to be an opportunity, it would have been in there.
There used to be a stop sign across that road there. It wasn't even a light there.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying.
And then snow comes on the road, and all those guide markers that take the cars this way are covered. It's like a free-for-all. That's it. Thank you. But anyway, I think you know how I feel.
I do.
Community.
I'll get to them, Ari, as soon as we're done. I'll get to them. Any more commissioner comments? No. Is that a wrap?
Can I just say one more question? If grade separation was not the option, are we able to hear what some of the options might be to fix the intersection?
The 2009, let me make sure I get the date. Hang on a sec. Well, this is 18. Bear with me, please. Oh, yes. Okay, good. Like I said, there were two, and the more current one from 2018 specifically says it's item number 14 for projected improvements, cloverleaf interchange, which can be done at grade, dual left and right turn lanes from Route 222 westbound off-ramp, single left and right turn lanes from Route 222 eastbound off-ramp 4-lane cross-section with right turn lanes at the on-ramps. So that's for Route 222 and North Crocs. So it specifically does not say grade separated interchange. And like I said, I apologize. It's in our traffic engineer's comment. I will be calling him and trying to ask, what did you see? But I'm looking right at the 209 study right now, the more current one. The previous one did not say anything about grade separated either for this same intersection. So I apologize for the confusion it caused, but I am confirming what is specifically in the 209 study. And it was cloverleaf design, which can be done at grade. But I can tell you one of the things that PennDOT said at a meeting with the applicant and their team, as well as with township staff at the very beginning, they were adamant that the 222 design factored in future build-outs, et cetera, et cetera. They told these guys, you will not get an access onto 222. Don't even ask. For like a right turn in or something like that. So again, I don't want to try to pretend to be a traffic engineer, but considering everything that's been discussed and the different studies and the design changes that were made to accommodate PennDOT, everything that they're proposing is in accordance with PennDOT standards, and we're okay with it, what they're proposing. I mean, I think the other thing that I think Kyle could certainly confirm, but you can't just propose the improvements. It has to be validated by the traffic volumes. And given the volumes on 222, the volumes currently on 222 and Crocs, this is a large project. There's no question. It will be adding traffic. There's no question. But I feel badly that this kind of took a turn relative to something that was, I believe, an error in the review to bring up grade separated interchange. Hopefully that answers your question. I was kind of winding all over the place, but.
Okay, any more commissioner comments? Kate, do you have any more to add?
We don't have anything more to add at this time.
All right, do I have any public comments? Questions and comments? You were here first, sir. If you come up and sign in.
Andrew Hoffman from Gross & Ginley on behalf of Hamilton Crossings. As I've mentioned multiple times when I've come to the township, to the Planning Commission, and to the workshop, my client, Hamilton Crossings, is not opposed to this development, but it does need to protect its easement rights. I can give you an update since the workshop when I spoke to you, that there have been some recent discussions, and those recent discussions held out some promise. We received some revisions today to an agreement which we're not excited about. Hopefully, things can be resolved, but they're not yet resolved. And of course, an approval tonight may help, it may hurt in terms of getting those negotiations completed. And so all possibilities, as I reviewed at the workshop, still remain on the table in terms of what Hamilton Crossings may or may not need to do to protect its easement rights. I would reiterate my request, which I anticipate your solicitor will once again tell me cannot be done, that we make it as a condition of any approval that there be a mutually acceptable amendment to the recorded drainage and access easement so that my client's access to and use of its stormwater easements and access easements on the property that they're about to develop are protected. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? No.
And we would oppose such a condition because it's a private matter between the parties, and the easement is a private right. And just like we said at the workshop, we understand what obligations we have with Hamilton Crossings, but it's not proper for it to be a condition of the land development plan approval, in our opinion.
So I can update the board on what I've gotten feedback from on this issue. We have told these parties that it is a private matter. I have gotten updates on the status of their negotiations. My last update was that they were very close to reaching an agreement on this amendment. They needed to finalize some language in the amendment. I have not spoken to Mr. Hoffman about this. I spoke to Ms. Durso today on the status of this. The township is a party to that easement agreement for purposes of certain public water that was going into Hamilton Crossings, I believe, and then coming across into the subject property, and then for purposes of assuring that maintenance occurs on those facilities on the property as it does with, every development that comes across. So I have indicated to the parties to date that this is a private matter and should remain a private matter. As you know from the workshop, I urged them to get this done before they came for a vote tonight. Unfortunately, that did not occur. It is the will of the board whether you would like to add a condition to it. To date, we have not included that in the draft before you. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or the parties, I'm sure, would be happy to answer the same.
Is that true that you're almost to an agreement?
I thought we were. We did send back some comments today, but we haven't received response to the comments that we gave back today on it. But I think the concept of what was, where we're headed was agreed to. It's just a matter of the language, in my opinion. I don't feel that it can't be, that we can't get to an agreement that both parties will be happy with and that the township ultimately will sign on to, as well as the diocese.
I think we were heading in the right direction when the discussions were ongoing, but some of the revisions to the agreement, which were received a few hours before coming here, started to veer in the opposite direction, which caused my client some concern. So we're not able to say that we're on exactly the same page yet, and hopefully we can get back there. But this has been ongoing literally for years. I can't say it's 12 years for the interchange, but it's been years. June of 2024, there was a meeting here at the township, and it's still not resolved. So while we're hopeful, my client's exact expression to me was they're not excited about the revisions they received.
Any questions?
How does this affect the development if it's not resolved?
Yeah, I'm not prepared to wing this if, this.
You didn't hear me?
I did not.
Oh, I said, how does this affect the development if this isn't resolved?
If it is resolved?
It's not resolved.
If it's not resolved. Well, if there's no condition in our approval and Mr. Hoffman's client is unhappy with that, I presume they would seek court intervention to deal with that. If there is a condition added to this effect and Ms. Durso's client isn't happy with that, they would seek court intervention to deal with that condition.
Okay.
All right. No more questions? All right. Anyone else from the, come on up, sign in and,
Thank you. Ron Byler, 5540 Lower McCungie Road. Wasn't planning on talking tonight, but since history was referenced, I was involved in the township from 2014 until about 2 months ago continuously. Two things. The Lehigh Valley Transportation Study, LVTS, is the regional organization affiliated with the LVPC, the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, which creates the TIP. The TIP is the Traffic Improvement Plan. These are mechanisms, this is important because these are mechanisms by which communities, townships, or boroughs, et cetera, can request federal and state funding through the LVPC, through these organizations. During my time on the board in 2015 and 16, it's understandable that no one remembers this. It predates Nate, Bruce, engineer, everyone. The team at the time was Bruce Fosselman, Sarah Pandel, and Keystone Consulting Engineers. But during my time on the board, the township made the request to the Lehigh Valley Transportation Study through the TIP to have grade separated interchanges on the bypass at 2 locations, 1 Cressler Road and 2 North Crocs Road in the bypass. So when it's referenced, this has been continuously discussed for 12 years. That's one thing where there's a paper trail, but I can also attest to the fact that it's been brought up anecdotally at workshops, planning commission meetings, board of commissioners meetings continuously for 12 years. But the formal action was the township formally making that request to the LVTS to get grade separation on the 222 bypass onto the TIP, the traffic improvement plan for the region. We were actually, through my other capacity, current capacity, we were actually discussing this with the planner as recently as like 6 months ago because I was looking for that information. I was just interested in revisiting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up, ma'am. Would you please sign in?
I'm Carla Colangelo. I am from Upper Macungie, 5535 Kurt Drive, right off of Crocs Road. I wanted to ask a clarification. I had thought that part of the compliance was getting a stoplight at Crocs and Citronia. Is that part of them being in full compliance or not? Is it?
That would be a question to Mark.
Sure. So there was an agreement in the past that brought about that traffic light when Hamilton Crossings was being built. As part of that agreement, there's a bunch of conditions that needed to be met in order for the developer of Hamilton Crossings to put the traffic light in. This developer has since inherited that requirement. If you look at the conditions, one of the conditions is the developer doesn't have to do anything to acquire additional right-of-way, and if they do, if any conditions are not met, then they can pay money for the light. So that's what they've decided to do, pay money towards the installation of the light. Upper Macungie
I'm not a lawyer, so I didn't understand what you said. Either it's a condition that is in full compliance, like for you guys, right? You're saying that this will go to court unless, because they are in full compliance. Is that?
Yeah,
and I thought that the stoplight was part of that full compliance, and you're saying no.
They were required to address the stoplight per the prior agreement of the developer of Hamilton Crossings.
Okay, and so you guys are going to take a vote based on her, I don't know her name, I'm sorry, telling you that Upper Macungie has said, yeah, we're doing this. There's no one from Upper Macungie supervisors here, and you don't have anything in writing saying that they're going to do this. I don't know. As someone who actually lives there, I could tell you that the people from that area don't want a stoplight there. And when Upper Macungie supervisors bring that up and say it's going to cost us $1 million or whatever the heck, and they have to take land, there's going to be an uprising. And there are going to be people that are not going to be for it because you know what? A stop sign and a stoplight, same difference. There's lots of traffic. And I would think that you guys taking the word of, without anything in writing, saying that this is going to be resolved is a mistake. Because I looked at the budget of Upper Macungie. There's $300,000 of I don't know what for this light, and $100,000 in the 2026 budget. We all know that's not enough money. So maybe it'll be started this year, maybe not. But if I were you guys, I would say, where is this written? Because I've been in touch with the supervisors, and I'm really pissed.
All right. Thank you for your comment.
I have a follow-up to that.
I think Kate wants.
No, I was going to say, it's my understanding that it has been communicated to various people at Lower Macungie Township by Upper Macungie Township verbally that they would like this to happen and that there is an agreement. Plus, the resolution has a condition of us providing that contribution to Upper Macungie.
Right. I think what she asked was there an agreement in writing?
There is a private agreement in writing that that Upper Macungie Township has, yes. The terms of which are confidential.
Why? Why is it confidential? I know we're not a first class.
You should ask Upper Macungie that.
Yeah, well, I think you guys should ask that too.
I'm sorry, Wes.
Oh, actually, I was just going to say I was surprised to hear that there was opposition to the stoplight. That's totally fine. I was where I was going to comment, and I was going to ask if there was, it's always, first of all, we don't have, at the end of the day, we don't have any jurisdiction. It's in Upper Macungie, but the conversation is relevant to this. I'm just surprised to hear that. Almost everyone has viewed that as the better alternative.
That was what was indicated to us by Upper Macungie.
And just so that I just want to clarify some numbers, because I was under the standing that there was a little bit more money in there. There's 667. What's the number that the developer's contributing?
I don't know whether I'm allowed to disclose it, but
it doesn't matter.
You're not off.
Okay. Do we have any indication on what? I was under the understanding, based on conversations over the past however long we've been working on this, that it is in their budget and that it was a sizable number, but that it was stepped, knowing that it can't all happen in 1 year.
Did you say the number's 650,000? Is that what?
That was.
So would that even buy the land?
So what I'm saying is, I don't.
Would that even buy the land?
I don't know the number.
It would not even.
But
buy
I
the
think
land.
that is a number, and so. But I believe that it's it's an easement.
It would be negotiated.
Correct.
That would not even buy it. I'd put some. Enough said. That's what I did.
It's been conveyed from the manager of Upper Macungie verbally to myself that they are moving forward with the traffic light project. It's been in their long-term plans for traffic coordination in the area. It has been budgeted an amount of $300,000 to start this design process to knowingly get that moving through PennDOT. That it will take several years, as been explained tonight, to make that happen. So their initial design was approved at their December meeting for their 2026 design process starting. Hopefully, and they actually reached out today to see where the progress of this was so that they can properly, time their projects for the year on if this had potential to move forward so that they can begin to schedule that. So I believe that's why you've seen a small amount in that first initial year to get them started on that paperwork and the engineering to get their submission together. That's what I've been privy to from our discussions with Upper Macungie.
I can also tell you that the condition in the resolution regarding the light and the agreement that the light needed to be installed was reviewed by the solicitor for Upper Macungie and conveyed to me that he approved of the language in that condition. So if that's a writing from Upper Macungie as well.
I have one more question. So let's say we vote no, successfully win a court case. What happens?
If we vote no and win?
We vote no, goes to a judge, judge says, you know what, you guys were right, this should be voted no. What is the option of the applicant?
They could then appeal to the Commonwealth Court.
Let's say we win again.
Then they could ask the Supreme Court to review that decision, and the Supreme Court decides whether or not to hear the case.
Okay.
After that, it would be over. If it upheld as a no by the courts, then they would have
no
to start over.
opportunity to reapply.
They could reapply a different project.
It would have to be a different.
There would have to be changes made to the project.
Any more questions?
I actually have. If it's possible, Mr. Beitler, would you be able to come back up and speak on behalf of the Planning Commission, Lehigh Valley Planning Commission? Just some questions about the roads. I just would like a little bit more, if you can share anything about what the Planning Commission at the county level has considered or I guess recommends, regarding the traffic.
I would be appropriately so taken to the woodshed by my friends at the LVPC if I were to stand up here and freewheel on speaking on behalf of that organization, which I am a proud member of. So I cannot do that other than things that have been put out there in the public. If there's a specific thing, the LVPC has been on record as stating Becky Bradley as one of the most dangerous intersections in the Lehigh Valley. But anything beyond that, I think you do have a review letter in your files, or you should have a review letter from the LVPC, but I can't speak to anything other than what's in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more commissioner comments? Any more comments from the public? Julie?
I just have a general observation, let's say, as a peanut from the peanut gallery there. I think there's a lot more. I think the assumption is that there's going to be a whole lot more pedestrian traffic than there really is going to be from that development. Not that that means there's any less concern or responsibility to keep things safe, but when I just step back and say, okay, say I rent an apartment in that area, I don't think I'd have to go through that intersection too many times before I would say, I'm not walking through there. I don't care whether there's signals there or not. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make a special trip if I want to go over to Hamilton Crossings. I'm going to stop there on my way home from work, so there's not any extra trips that are incurred either. So, I mean, I know you have to plan for a lot of, can't use the word I want to use, dumb people out there, but fear also sets in too. So I think people do have a certain amount of fear when they see a bad situation that they don't want to get involved in. And I mean, even like with the hotel shuttles, I mean, once things get rolling, I think then there often becomes cooperation between those type of developments where Hamilton Crossing and, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the new, we'll call it new development, may get together and say, hey, maybe we'll have our own little shuttle that we'll have run back and forth, or maybe we can hire the hotel as a part-time shuttle, or like someone mentioned, this is going to be a really cheap Uber ride from one spot to another. So I just wanted you to take into consideration the fact that there's, again, it's important, but we have to be kind of reasonable about it too, because you can't make everything as safe as you really want to in the end. There are regulations, there are parameters that just have to be looked at surrounding the whole thing. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do I have any more questions from the audience, the client, or the board? Or any more comments?
Call the question.
Pardon?
Call the question.
Call the question.
Can I ask a question first? There was a request to the applicant to make a request to Lanta to consider adding a bus stop. So are you offering to amend the resolution and the motion to include that as a condition?
Yes.
Okay. So it would be the draft resolution amended with a condition to make that request to Lanta.
If that is how you recommend doing it, yes.
We want to do that before you take a vote. So I would say you need to amend your motion to that effect and then take your vote.
Can I ask another question related to that? Regarding the possible future changes to the intersection, whatever those might be, is there an option to add some language that the applicant would need to cooperate with PennDOT for that, any future things?
I mean, you can craft another condition if you'd like. We would have to figure out what that language is before you vote on it. I think we need to vote on this tonight because of the current MPC deadline, so we can't push it off to draft anything, so we would need to do that now unless the applicant was willing to give us another extension. Unless there's also a condition that satisfies in the draft that satisfies what you're talking about. They do have to get third-party approvals as part of the resolution. I'm not sure that's addressing what you're asking, though.
I don't know how you would, I mean, if PennDOT wants something, PennDOT's going to take it, right? Like, so I don't know how you say, like, would we cooperate with PennDOT? I mean, I think we would cooperate with PennDOT, but at the end of the day, I don't know what we're cooperating. Like, we believe, depending on what they're going to do there, there's plenty of right-of-way there for it. And we purposely designed the site away from the intersection with the assumption that if they're going to do something there, it's going to be at the intersection. So I think just by our nature of our development, we designed it to be cooperative, right, to make sure that that was going to happen. I don't know legally how you enforce something if it just says, we'll cooperate with PennDOT. I mean, I'm happy if you say that in there. I just don't know, 5-10 years from now what that means, just to be honest. We're certainly, going to be, I mean, PennDOT's going to dictate what happens now or in the future. I'm sorry?
It would probably have no punch, you're saying.
So it'd be in there, but it wouldn't have anything behind
Yeah, I mean,
it.
all I can tell you is that, anything in that intersection, right, impacts our development. So any improvements that are made are only going to be beneficial for the development. So I don't think it makes sense for the developer to do something that would prevent something that would improve that intersection. I just don't know how to articulate what you're saying without it having any meat, unless you have it. Yeah.
You can ask them to do something, but I guess what Kate's saying is if they do it and nothing happens, what's the end result of that condition, right?
Yeah. But I do think there's an incentive, certainly, if the project is up and running or under construction, if anything that helps is going to help them, because they're the one benefiting most besides Hamilton Crossings and people who live, I live in the township too, people traversing and going down there. I appreciate what everybody's saying, because I drive there all the time as well. So I just don't know how to articulate what you're saying.
All right, is that it?
If I just wrote something down for that, I know it's a minor thing compared to everything we've been talking about, but it would be the additional condition that we would be adding to this resolution that you're voting on would be applicants shall make a request to Lanta to add a bus stop within the development at the location shown on the plans. Is that fair? Isn't there a bus stop location on the plans? Yes. Okay. Yes, there is. Is that language appropriate?
Additionally, that the route would go from their property to Hamilton Crossing, Hamilton Crossing to, that there would be
in addition to the bus stop, but asking Lanta to allow for the cross buses, for lack of a better word.
From Hamilton Crossings. Is that where you?
Both directions, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So across 222.
And we certainly can involve Vince or whoever in that.
And I recognize it's simply a request.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's an amendment to the.
No, I know.
But then that would have to be voted on, correct?
That's why you're going to vote on this resolution as amended with this new condition about the bus stop and the route.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes we vote on the amended because
Well-
we already seconded it, the motion.
We're voting on making a request to Lanta, but not voting based on how they respond.
I think we have no control over Lanta. Yeah.
I know what you're saying, Ron.
I withdraw my original motion and move to approve the development as amended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for the vote, and I'm opposed because opposed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I didn't. Was there 3 or 4 ayes? 4 ayes. All right. The amended motion passed.
Call for the opposed, just so we know. Can you do that?
Opposed. Opposed.
I think I'm a yes.
Huh? Pardon me?
I'm a yes.
All right. Well, I'm opposed because I'm a no for this. All right.
Thank you. We got approved. Yeah, he's like, what happened?
All said at the same time. I didn't hear what the vote was.
Oh, I thought Yeah,
It was 4-1.
I know, I got backed up. I thought we were just voting on the amended motion, then take a vote on it.
That's why Maury rescinded
Right.
his and put it in.
All right.
Right? It was on the vote.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And thank you for taking our
No,
very tedious questions.
no,
Oh, sorry.
that's why I brought everybody here. So,
I just couldn't live with it.
and if there still are questions, people can, I mean, if you guys still have questions, you just
See how
reach out.
easy it is, Kate?
How easy it is.
Sure, Brian.
Okay, shall we move on?
All right, moving on. 6.3, Bruce.
Yeah, thank you. What you have before you this evening, thoroughly discussed at the workshop. This is the volunteers forwarded by the fire department to receive their earned income tax credit. We thank them for their service. Right now, Ms. Flexer has certified 32 of the 34 named. We would ask you to approve that so they can get their credit.
Move to approve as listed.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any questions from the board or the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Communication. Bruce.
Thank you. Just for the record, we did skip over the public comment for the non-agenda topics in item 7, in case there's anybody here with public comment. All right. Item 8, just a letter of thanks, Captain Tyler Ritter. He did receive boxes from our troop support program. Thank you to all the residents and businesses that support troop support, and everybody that donates their time for that.
All right, thank you. Item 9, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. I believe we have none tonight.
None.
Okay, approval of the previous meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any board or public comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Bruce.
Thank you. We have the following bills this evening for the board's consideration. The general fund, $152,910.59. The solid waste fund, $2,207.18. The sewer fund, $30,876.39. The debt service fund, $341,648.40. The open space fund, $59. The liquid fuels fund, $17,694.27. The payroll, $219,088.25. Developer escrow, $46,690.60. The total of all funds, $811,174.68.
Move to approve.
All right, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. I'll call for the vote unless there's any comments. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Bill is approved. Item number 12, departmental matters and reports. 12.1, is there any department reports this evening?
Save it for the workshop.
Save it for the workshop. All right, seeing none. 12.2, engineering.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just two quick items. First one is an escrow release for the fields at Indian Creek. It's a 10-year-old project that we are trying to get through with the township and get closed out. We are recommending a release in the amount of $41,699.33.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All right, is there any questions? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All right, resolution approved. Engineers project status report.
Yeah, I just want to make a note that our monthly report is in your packet, If you have any questions, please let me know.
All right, thank you. Mark, solicitor's report.
I have nothing to report tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the solicitor? We're all out of questions.
We are.
All right, 12.4, Township Manager, Bruce.
I have nothing to report this evening besides the workshop on Monday, unless there's questions from the board.
Any questions for Bruce? Seeing none. Other business, unfinished business. There is no unfinished business for this evening. Board of Commissioners reports. As Bruce mentioned, the next board workshop is February 23rd, and that's this coming Monday. And the next regular board meeting is March 5th at 6 p.m. There was no executive session before this meeting. There's none after it. This meeting is adjourned.
Good evening, everybody.
See you, Nate.